Hey everyone, welcome to Femme Fables. Megan here, and I have Kim with me this week again.
Hello.
And if you're listening on a podcast platform, thank you so much for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. That helps the channel grow. And this week's episode, we are talking about hookup culture and is dating dead?
Dun, dun, dun.
So, I don't know where I think I was watching a video or I came across a video on YouTube about this and I was like, oh, that would be a good thing to talk about because we talk about struggles with dating and being on dating apps and getting all these messages. We had an episode about it and I was like, okay, is dating dead these days? Like, is it just a hookup casual culture atmosphere now?
It sure feels like it.
It sure does feel
sure
like
feels
it.
like it.
So of course I did hours of research this morning watching YouTube videos on it, and it mostly talked about millennial and Gen Z generation being more like this, but I think it's bleeding into older age groups. Yeah, or it feels like it is with online dating anyways. There's so many options available to people both ways, you know, and is it one of those FOMO? Like,
Sure.
so if I commit to this person, I may just miss out on somebody who may be a little better, maybe more attractive or smarter, more successful. Like,
Right, I have this huge pool of women
Right.
to choose from.
like, do I really want to?
Settle on one.
Yeah.
No.
I watched a video about how detrimental this whole hookup culture is, just like to humanity in general, because we're basically promoting the fact that it's okay and healthy to not have intimate feelings for someone.
Which is not the case.
Right. So I have been in casual hookup situations, multiple. I've tried it, doesn't work for me. You know, in the last year I've had a casual hookup and it started out okay, like, okay, I can do this. And then it just kind of felt empty for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all desire physical touch and, like,
Right.
maybe even romance. And you can get some of that from a casual encounter, but over time, it's lacking. It doesn't have, like, what you really need, I feel.
Right. Well, here's what got to me eventually it was the later in the week text, hey, how's your week going? What are you doing this weekend, right? Which is the preemptive, like, are we going to meet up and hook up, you know? And I've had it different ways. I've had it where literally just come over, hook up, and leave. And I've had it where we'd go do stuff, which I prefer. Let's go out. Let's have a drink. Let's go to dinner. Let's, you know, make me feel like I'm still a human being and not just an object or a hole for you to...
Yeah, not a wet spot.
Right.
Like, let's build some kind of connection. Like, even over a meal is enough for me to be like, okay, like, I feel like I can be physical with this person because I know something more about you than just what you look like.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like, how you have to shut some part of you off in order to, I feel like, continuously be able to just be intimate with somebody without intimacy. Does that make sense? Sex and intimacy are two very different things.
For sure, 100%.
So for me to feel like I want you, I have to be mentally stimulated as well, which means ask me questions. Let's talk about different things. You know what I mean? And if I don't have that, what's it called? Sapiosexual? When you like,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're attracted to
intelligence, right? So if I'm not getting that, that's not going to make me want to jump into bed with you. Now, I know men don't necessarily work that way with women. You know, they just want to get off, you know. But, and I know men who want significant relationships too. It's just, is online dating, what did I read that, it's like an $80 billion industry. And we talked about this, like, are these apps really designed to have you meet somebody, or are they really designed to keep you on there?
If they're making $80 billion, it's not designed for you to not use the app. Like, that's capitalism. I mean, that's a whole nother topic. But
put that on the list. Capitalism. That'll be a fun one.
Like, you know.
Capitalism and the patriarchy. No.
Lots to unpack there. But no, when it comes to intimacy, being just physical is not enough for me. Like, I definitely want more.
So I was telling Kim off camera, I was listening to this video, this TED Talk, and it was more geared around the younger generation and how now that they have access to iPads and iPhones and technology basically at a young age, they're exposed to pornography at a very young age. So their framework for sexual experiences is based on porn, which is usually degrading of women, so on and so forth, but that's kind of their framework for sex and intimacy, and that people around the age of, like, I think it was 18 to 25 don't really know how to date. They don't know what dating is. They don't know what courting is. Like, I'm going to take you out.
Right,
unless their parents have taught them, which is the problem, is parents aren't talking to their children about these things, about, hey, this is common courtesy as a decent human being. We don't ghost people. We talk about our feelings. But the parent has to lead that charge of opening that conversation up to the child so they feel comfortable, so that they in turn, as they get older, feel comfortable having those conversations.
Yeah, I think that is part of it, for sure. I mean, pornography in general, like you said, it's kind of male-centric. It can be a little bit degrading to women. It's not so much about, like, this physical, intimate experience. It's more so about getting off.
Yeah.
And, like, that's not what I want sex to be every time. Like, sure, like, I mean,
yeah,
it's gonna happen, but I don't know.
So we're on these dating apps, right? Which obviously I think people should use dating apps sparingly now. Like, I've used them in the past before when they first came out, and I had a lot of success in them, but I think now, with as many options as people have, that it's just become so saturated. It wasn't like that in my 20s. Because it wasn't as popular, and now that it's just so easily accessible, and a lot of them are free, you know, and it's hard because we're in the pandemic, so a lot of people aren't going out, and it's like, okay, well, how do I balance this not using just a dating app and trying to get out and do things, but, you know, parts of the world are still shut down, and how do I do that? So it's a tough...
It is like this weird combination of pandemic plus, like, this, I don't know, a societal move towards hookup culture, really.
Yeah. I mean, you were only looking for a hookup when you first got on dating apps, right? When you got out of your relationship.
Oh, yes,
because you
for
just
sure.
wanted
Recently, yes.
physical connection because you hadn't had that, right?
And it had changed even, like, in the past 5 years, like, because 5 years prior, before my relationship, I was on it, and it was a little bit more, I don't know, like, less saturated, I guess you could say. A little bit more options that seemed realistic. Now it's like, is this person even a real person? Like, that there's, like, so many levels to...
Are you even a real person?
You know, like, they call them bots. Like, are you a bot?
That's crazy. That's, like, one of the things that we have to think about. So I was telling Kim a story about this girl who was on TikTok, and she got ghosted by a guy that she went out on a date with, and she asked him, she texted him and said, you know, hey, this is really for my own benefit, so I can just kind of learn and grow about myself, but, you know, is there anything that, you know, basically feedback you can give me? And this was, like, back to that, like, I want to survey guys I've been out with, like, so they can give me, you know, anonymous feedback about myself, but, and he said to her, he was like, no, there's nothing wrong with you, I just have, you know, so many options to choose from. It's like, fuck, like,
even when there's nothing wrong
shit,
with me,
fuck, damn.
you still don't want me. Like,
right. I checked all the boxes, you like me, but it's that FOMO, like, oh, but I might miss out on somebody who might be a little better. Or you can die fucking alone, bitch. No, sorry. No, I cut that out.
It really does feel like this, like, perpetual, like, I don't know, groove that you get in when you're on these apps, like, swipe left, swipe right, and then talk for, you know, exchange 5 or 6 messages and then never hear from this person again. Or, you know, talk and then end up, like, actually corresponding, like, on your cell phone, which is, like, another level, you know, and you think, okay, like, we're actually going to meet. Or you have the ones that want to meet right away and not even learn anything about you, and that just seems strange to me. Like, you want to know nothing about me at all before you put your penis inside me? That doesn't make sense to me. That just is weird.
Let's talk about that, because we've talked about this one-on-one off camera. But the whole, okay, dating coaches tell you, you know, somebody who wants to meet up, right? And I'm like you, I'm hesitant. If I matched with a guy not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, I'm off dating apps now because I got annoyed and I need a break. But, you know, this is the kind of stuff that happens that kind of is exhausting. And that's why I like to take breaks for months at a time. But it was on Tinder, because remember I tried Tinder after going through your Tinder app.
Yes.
I thought I'd had some success. No fucking success, by the way. Anyways, I lasted 72 hours. And
yeah, I was gonna say you were not on Tinder for very long.
No. But this guy matched with me, and he was like, "Yeah, let's meet up for a drink." And I was like, "I'm totally down. Because I'd like to get to know you a little better." Unmatched. I'm like, this bitch.
Makes no sense.
I have to feel somewhat. I'm not saying I need a pen pal. I don't want to communicate with you for a week, but a few days of back and forth. Like, what do you do? Where are you from? Do you have siblings? Like, what do you like to do?
I need an opportunity to know if it's even worth, you know, meeting a stranger. Like, for women, it's very unsafe. Like, I don't think that's another level to it that men don't seem to understand.
That's true.
Like, no, I'm not just meeting some strange man off of a dating app. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I like safety, and I need to feel somewhat comfortable knowing, like, walking in and sitting down across from you.
Sure.
You know, that I know something about you, right? Like, that kind of thing. So I'm with you. And it is weird that people are just so, and I'm not knocking it. Like, if you can have casual sex all day long, fucking power to you. I wish I could, because I like having sex, but I also unfortunately need my mind fed too. So, not that you don't if you want casual sex. I'm not knocking it. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not knocking it. I think maybe it does work for people, but do I think maybe they have blocks? Probably. Like, either they don't want to be vulnerable, they don't want to feel.
Sure. Oh, I think for sure there is an underlying cause of promiscuity, I guess you could call it. Like, people who do have casual sex tend to, there's a reason for our actions, whatever they are, right? So, I've done it, like, it's been fine, but it didn't make me feel very good afterwards, so I chose not to do that.
I've had casual sex, and it's been decent sex, but sex for me is better when there's intimacy involved, and intimacy usually involves knowing each other on a deeper level. Like, that increases for women, I think, mostly that, you know, sexual desire and sexual experience. And it's funny, so something that they talked about in one of these TED Talks was, you know, the rise of feminism and being sexually open as a female. That's why, you know, women are like, fuck the patriarchy, I'm gonna go and have casual sex. And it's like, you think that's what you're doing, but in essence, you're not, because you're giving men exactly what they want by saying, fuck the patriarchy, I'm gonna go have sex with all these men. They're like,
this is the reaction we were hoping for.
Yes, please, keep fucking the patriarchy and
me. Literally.
And I was like, oh my God, I didn't think about that, because you hear about, well, I want to be able to be sexually promiscuous like a man and not be slut-shamed, which I completely agree. You shouldn't be slut-shamed.
Sure,
like,
yes.
Which is one of the reasons why I started this podcast, was to talk about sex openly as a female, and that female loves sex just as much, probably more so as men, and be comfortable with talking about sexual experiences and not feeling like I'm a whore or I'm a slut or whatever.
Right.
Because I've had casual sex or what have you. But I thought about it, I was like, oh shit, like, that's such a good point. Like, we think we're like, look at us feminists, you know, and the men are like, yeah, keep doing that. Please and thank you.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it does kind of depend on, like, what a woman's end goal is. If you are truly comfortable being by yourself and don't feel the need to build those deeper relationships with men, then, like, casual sex would be your bag, baby.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. More power to you. But do you think, why is a guy going to commit to a girl and have a relationship if he's able to have casual sex with a bunch of other women?
Well, especially
how do we compete with that?
Yeah. Yeah, how do we? That's a great question. I haven't figured it out yet since I'm still single.
for any of the men, I know some, my male friends listen to my podcast. I would like to know, and I think, you know, I can think of one of my male friends that probably wants, like, I don't think he'd think lesser of a woman because of it, but I think he would be like, I don't know if I want to, you know, date a girl I know is banging a bunch of dudes, like, too. You know what I mean? Because they could be having sex with multiple partners, and now we're talking about STDs and safety and all that stuff sexually. But, yeah, how do you compete with, well, I can get on my app and, you know, and that's the other thing we were talking about. So, watching a video about, you know, if you're an attractive guy on a dating app, you're probably getting tons of likes.
Sure.
Right? If you're not as attractive, you probably aren't. So if you're an attractive girl, you like the attractive guy, but that attractive guy has 50 attractive girls.
That have already liked them.
Right. So you fall in line wherever, and that's why, you know, you may match, you talk, and then you don't hear from them because, whoop, they're on to the next one. And it's just like, we treat people as such throwaways. It's
we're so disposable.
Awful.
It's almost dehumanizing.
Right. Like, it's so awful. And it's like, how do we stop this from happening? Like, I don't know if it starts with parenting. Like, you know, I don't know many parents that have these conversations with their kids, like how you treat others. Well, yes, and at a basic level, yes, you're kind, you don't lie, blah, 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 whatever. What are those?
I mean, I think parenting, yes, but I think also just society as a whole, like there is a mindset that we have, and it's almost, I guess you could even say that toxic masculinity kind of contributes to it in a way. Like there's this idea of men will be men or whatever, you know, and like they don't really need to have those emotions. So casual sex is like what they're going to choose every time, whereas women were more emotional creatures or whatever, and we desire that connection. But I think really and truly men do too.
I think humans desire connection.
Period. And it's just that society has twisted men into thinking that it's not okay to feel, or
and I do think that's part of it. I'll give men credit for that, because I do think there's a societal level of men where you don't cry, you don't feel, you're not sensitive, you're a man. Like, suck it up, you know what I mean?
Sure. So
they don't feel comfortable talking about their feelings or being like, wow, you know what, I just want somebody to be the big spoon.
Yeah, I'll be the big spoon, man.
I can try.
I'm not very. You are a little
person.
A little big spoon.
I have had men want me to spoon them, but I think it's because they wanted my tits up against them, like on the bed. Let's be honest.
Let's be real.
Let's be real. Anyways, but I've had men that were like, "Can you spoon me?" I'm like,
sure.
Oh, that's so cute. Like, you want love too. Everybody wants to be loved. I think it's the rise of dating apps, and I hope eventually the fall of dating apps. I really do hope like that becomes lesser and lesser, but I don't know if it ever will.
Well, we were talking too, like a little bit about, well, when it comes to intimacy, I feel like kissing is a very intimate thing, and so
it is.
There have been men that I've hooked up with that I didn't even kiss.
Yeah.
We had sex and there was no kissing involved.
They say that's a sign of narcissism. Because it's too intimate.
Well, yeah, my ex, he didn't kiss me the first year we dated.
What?
Yeah, it took him a year to kiss me.
That's fucking weird.
I know, and we did everything else.
See, that would be...
Yep. Now I know, you know what I mean? But I just thought that maybe he had some trauma that prevented him from, wanting to get to that level of intimacy. So, of course, once we did, I felt like, oh my gosh, there's this huge milestone in our relationship.
Wow. Yeah, I dated a guy who did not want to kiss me. And we did everything else. And I talked about him in an early episode that we did. And of course, I'm not a psychologist or a doctor by any means, but he was a toxic individual. I'll just call him a toxic individual. And I think he may have been on the spectrum of autism, let's be honest. I don't think he felt feelings.
Sure.
Actually, there were two guys that were like
the
that.
cues.
Right. The one guy I dated when I lived in Tennessee who was like that, we made out on our first date. And the second date, we, had sex. And he didn't really kiss me. He was like, yeah, I'm not comfortable with kissing. And I'm like, we totally made out for an hour. And he was like, I did that, as a courtesy. Like, what?
So
fucking courtesy. And we talked about it, and I was like, you're such an odd person. I was like, you know, he's kind of robotic in a way. And he's like, I think I might be on the spectrum.
It's entirely possible. Yeah. I think more of us are neurodivergent than we care to admit because we're so like wanting to fit in with this idea of what is normal. But I think more of us are atypical than we realize anyway. But
neurodivergent, sure. What a word right there. Look at you. I got a master's degree.
You know.
Neurodivergent.
There you go.
Right?
Sorry.
Just gonna drop that word of the day. I love it. That was really good. So yeah, I just want better for everybody.
I want more for everyone. Like the fact that I could meet a man and give him a blowjob, put his penis in my mouth before putting his lips on my lips is just insane. Like, why would I do that? But I feel like I've been brainwashed to think like, well, I have to be what this guy wants me to be, or else he's gonna pick a girl that will.
Yeah.
And then you start compromising all of these things about yourself just because you don't want to be alone. And I think that's bullshit. Like, that sucks. Like, I don't want to do that anymore.
I have definitely been in sexual circumstances where there's things I've done that I didn't necessarily want to do. Not that I was forced or anything, like, by the man. Nothing to that extent. But in your mind, you're like, I feel the need to do this because I'm also a people pleaser and I don't like to say no. So
Sure. But think about what you're saying there. Like, how many other women probably had that same exact experience because they didn't want to say no, or they wanted to say no, but they didn't want to hurt someone's feelings or whatever. Like,
or be called a prude. That was the other thing that a girl wrote in on one of these shows and said, you know, with this hookup culture, it's so common that if I'm the girl who wants to be taken out and kind of wined and dined and romanced, and, you know, that'll eventually lead to sex, but I don't want that to be the lead in, you know, to talking to somebody. And, you know, guys would make comments or like, oh, don't be such a fucking prude. Bitch, fuck you. Sorry.
Right? Like, if you could see the things that I do in the bedroom, you wouldn't be calling me a prude. Like, just because I want a meal, like, come on. Like, I want to know something about you. Like, what is your favorite color? Like, what kind of music do you like to listen to? Like, you can learn a lot about somebody from very simple questions, but if they're not open or receptive to answering them or asking them back, then what is even the point?
Right. So I matched with a guy on Hinge before I got off, and we went back and forth, and we're talking about our dogs, and he was like, yeah, he's like, we should have a puppy play date. They can play, and then we can play. Wink. I'm like, here we fucking go.
Here we go.
Here we go. So I'm trying to...
And you haven't even met him yet.
No, this is just exchanging on the dating app. And I said, oh, you know, still trying to be playful, but not, like, put him in his place, but not be harsh about it.
Sure.
And I said, I was like, well, human play dates come later. Wink. He's like, oh. And so I prompted with, you know, are you looking for something just casual? Like, totally cool if you are.
Sure.
And he's like, no, I'm not looking for something just casual, but it sounds like, you know, you're looking for a relationship. And I said, I'm looking to connect with somebody that I get along with and I like, and hopefully it turns into a relationship.
Yeah, I'm dating with a purpose.
Right. And he responds with something to the effect of, well, yeah, he's like, but if there's no physical involvement, then it's just friends. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. No. But, you know, that's why he was basically like, oh, well, I found that if, you know, yeah, you date, but if there's no physicality to it, you just become friends. I'm like, no, it's the opposite. Like, you date and you kind of build up to it. And it's probably even better once you like actually truly know one another because of the intimacy versus just the physical act of having sex with somebody.
And the men that don't know that have clearly never opened themselves up to that level of intimacy to enjoy better sex, because it is 100% the case.
No, they're the ones who have watched porn, and that is their frame of reference of how a sexual experience should be.
Yeah.
Like we talked about.
Yep.
Like, that's how they think. And maybe not. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. I'm not a dude. If I were a dude, I'd be killing the fucking game. I can tell you that much. Like,
100%.
Killing the game. Because I think as a guy, now if you're a fucking hot guy, yeah, you probably don't need to put much forth effort. I'm going to be 100% honest. If you're a hot guy on a dating app, there are going to be women who are going to drop their panties at the drop of a dime. Like, That's just the reality of the situation. If you are a mid-level attractive guy and you're funny and you ask questions and you engage, you will get laid more than a hot guy more often.
Oh yeah.
100%. Like, prove me wrong. Somebody comment, call me, text me. I don't care. Carrier pigeon me.
It's very true.
Prove me wrong.
If you are clean and funny and like average
And engaging.
Yes, you're gonna do so much better in the dating game.
Yeah. I think
Hookup culture though, you might not. Like, so
you might. I would rather, this is kind of so horrible. I had a guy message me the other day that I've hooked with in the past. He's like, I'm in town, let's meet up. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to go have a drink. And I said, I'm not really looking into hookups anymore, it's just not for me. He's like, okay, I understand. Not like, okay, yeah, let's meet out for a drink. Had we probably met out for a drink, I'd probably been more inclined to hook up with them.
Sure.
But just coming over, dropping,
yeah,
getting naked and letting you fuck me and then you leave, like, it's just so empty. It's empty.
Yeah. I don't
you feel like
do
a shell
anymore.
of a human.
Yeah.
So, but to go to your point, like, I'm not saying trick women by being engaging and taking them out, but I think men would have more luck in getting laid if
yes,
the
if
ones
they took
who
those steps.
right, the ones who are bad are the ones who do that with no intent of actually dating the girl.
Right.
That is the problem.
And that has happened to me too. So it's like,
right. The lying about what your intent is not what I mean. I mean, if you want to date a woman and potentially have a relationship later down the road, be engaging, be funny, be nice, learn about her, take her out, just be a good guy, not a nice guy, be a good guy.
Good guy.
And I think men would have more luck. But I don't know, because you see, like, these guys that are not very attractive at all. Like, here's my dick. Look at my dick. And I was like, I don't want to look at your dick. Put your dick away. Put it away, sir. Put it away.
But like we talked about before, it must work on some women if they are still just showing their dicks, unless they get off on that. I don't even know.
It could be. That could be. I'm sure that's some level of fetish that, like, is it voyeurism where you...
Exhibitionists that, like, show yourself.
Oh, okay.
Voyeurs like to watch.
Oh, okay. I can't remember. Yes. Okay, you're right. So, maybe that level of just, like, I just like taking pictures of my dick and sending it to people.
Here I am.
But...
Enjoy.
Yeah, why do men have to put forth that effort if there are women out there who just want to hook up? Which, again, I'm not against, but I can't compete with that. If there's a hot girl who just wants to fuck and I'm a hot girl, but I want a guy to take me out, I'm probably going to lose every time. Maybe not every time, but...
Well...
Or they'll take me out in the disguise that they want to actually date, but once they get what they want, they're out. And they're on to the next one because they've got 55 other women in their dating app that are waiting.
And I'm not sure which is worse at this point, to be honest. Like, sometimes there's an itch, it just needs to be scratched. Like, I get that, but, like, I don't know, maybe I'm asexual, because, like, I'm getting to the point now where I just don't even care, I don't even think about it, because I'm so, like, disgusted by the options. Like, what is this?
I haven't gotten to that point yet, but,
I'm a little dramatic, but it's, I'm starting to kind of ease back from the man-hating and just entering into the not caring, I guess. Like, yeah. I don't know.
So I think not caring stage is good because you have no expectations of anything. I think not caring is a good stage to be in because you don't have any expectations. But going back to, what you said is that, if you're just looking for an itch to get scratched, like, both men and women should be upfront about that. That's my problem. Be upfront about what you want because there is this hookup culture out here, so you don't have to pretend that you want something that you don't. If you see a girl on a dating app on Bumble says she's looking for a relationship and you just want something casual, first of all, I wouldn't even match with that guy because I know he just wants to hook up.
Right.
But don't match with that girl, make her think that you want that, take her out, have sex with her, and then ghost her. That is fucked up. You're a shitty human being. The end. Like, just be honest.
That is fucked up. You're a shitty human being. But I think that
Right,
goes back to the fact that, like, being online offers you the ability to be whoever you want to be. So there's a lot of like non-genuine people. They
That's
just
true.
are never going to be who they really are, and that adds a whole other terrifying level to dating online.
Well, that's social media in general.
Sure, yes, on the online world.
Most people
period.
are not
Yes.
who they
Say they
pretend
are.
to be on social media, right? So, all right, well, we win. What was it? I mean, I thought it was a good topic because being a girl who wants to be in a relationship and hearing about this hookup culture and how common it is, I'm like, shit, like, how do I compete with that when I want something, meaningful? And why is that so bad? Why is that a bad thing these days to want to have a meaningful relationship with somebody and experience life and love with somebody and be vulnerable and I don't know.
I think that what we see on TV, like obviously, is not gonna be what real life is, and I think that men and women both probably misconstrue the idea of what a relationship should be because
100%.
they're not communicating, they're just kind of mimicking what they see. So I don't know, there's so much work to be done.
Got a lot of work to do. All right, well, we will wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on the podcast. We'd love to know your thoughts about the hookup culture, and is dating dead? Are there people out there that still want relationships? If you're a single, successful male, please hit me up. No.
I was going to say, if you're out there and you like them on the chunky side.
femfables@gmail.com. All right, well, thank you guys so much, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.